Today we're going to be turning any PNG into a spinning 3D logo with the help of Blender and Adobe Illustrator. Now, if you've never used Blender before, don't worry, this is a beginner-friendly tutorial. If you've got any questions at all, drop them in the comments and I'll make sure to respond to every single one. Take our PNG logo. This could be a PNG of any logo. If you have an Illustrator file, that's better, but we can do it just fine with this. So we've got our logo here. We're going to click Image Trace. Okay, now if you have multiple colors, you might have to play around with the settings here, but if it's just black and white, it should be fine with default. Then we're going to click Expand, Ungroup, and we're going to delete this background. Then we're going to make sure that we also delete any bits in the middle. Now we're going to select it all, group, make it a little bit larger. So now that we've got the logo as a vector, we're going to go to Window, 3D, and we're going to click Extrude. Now, you can't tell because it's jet black, so let me just quickly change the color to gray. But what Extrude does, it makes it elongated, whereas if you click Inflate, what will happen there, it makes it 3D puff. So if you want to do it as an inflate, you can click Inflate as both sides. It will look like this. If you want to do Extrude, you just click Extrude. You can mess around with the depth, see how wide you want it. So for the sake of this video, we're actually going to go with the inflate effect. We're going to reduce the depth because that looks too big. Let's see how that looks. Happy with that? You don't need to worry about the color now. We're going to change that in Blender. So we just click the logo, click Window and go to Asset Export. Here we're just going to drag it into this little box and then we're going to change the format to OBJ. We're just going to export that to our desktop. Now we're just going to open up Blender and we're going to continue over there. When you load up Blender, you'll see this screen. If you've not used it before, I will walk through exactly what I'm doing. Hopefully you won't get lost along the way. First, we're going to remove absolutely everything in the scene. I'm just moving around here with the magic trackpad with 2 fingers and I'm just going to drag over it all and click X to delete. So now we want to add our logo into Blender. We're going to go to File, Import, and Wavefront OBJ. And then you'll see an OBJ folder where the logo is saved. We're going to double click that and we're going to click the OBJ file. As you can see, we've got our logo here and it's a bit too big. So we're just going to zoom out and then pressing S, we're just going to bring that right down. That's S on the keyboard. Now on your keypad, you want to click 1 and that'll take you to the front and then you can just zoom in to the logo. Now we are going to lift it slightly up, so we're going to click G on the keyboard, Z on the keyboard, and we're just going to raise that up slightly, just so it's above the red line. That's going to be our floor. Now zooming out, we're going to click Shift A, and then we're going to go to Mesh, and we're going to hit Plane. And then again, we're going to click S, and we're going to just drag that out. Now looking around, we're going to click the Tab button now. I know there's a lot of buttons that we're pressing. Then we're going to click this top corner here, hold Shift, click this corner here, and then we're going to click E and Z on the keyboard, and we're just going to swipe up with the mouse. That'll create our background. Now we can look around and we see that we've got our logo and we've got our background. We're just going to click these 2 corners now, and then we're going to click Command B. And what this is going to do is going to bevel it, drag it a bit, then we'll click Command B again, drag them out a bit more, and then we'll click Command B one more time and just drag it about halfway. So then we have this curved background. Now we'll rotate around, we're going to zoom out and we're going to click Tab, and then we're going to right click this background and click Shade Smooth. That's just going to smooth it out. Now we'll click 1 on the keypad to face the front and we'll click Shift A. We want to head down to Camera to add a camera. This camera will be in the wrong place, so zooming out, we want to click G, Y, and then we'll pull it right back. Now, as you can see, the camera is still not in the right position, so we need to click G, Z just to bring it up. And then to see what's inside the camera, you want to click 0 on the keypad. So as you can see, we have got a 16:9 frame. We don't want that. So heading over here to our output settings, we want to change that to 1080x1080. If you're working with TikTok or Instagram Reels, then you want to change that to 1080x1920. But for me, I'm just going for an Instagram post here, so 1080x1080 is fine. You see the camera's still not in the right place. What I'm going to do is click this arrow here at the top. I'm going to go to View and click Camera to View. Now what this is going to do, don't touch anything yet. Whenever you move your mouse at all now, that is where the camera's going to face. So we're just going to zoom in and not tilt it any other way. So we're just zooming in here, and now we look a little bit high up, so holding Shift, we're just going to go slightly down. Cool, we're going to untick that box now, and now we've got our logo positioned well with our camera. The next thing you might be thinking is, these colors are not the colors that we're after. What we're going to do here to remove the color, we're going to click the logo and we're going to go head down to materials here, and we're going to click minus on all of these materials. Now that's removed all the materials. Let's click new material. There's many tutorials on YouTube if you want a specific material for your logo, for example, gold, silver. But for this video, we're just gonna go for a basic color. We want it to be a little bit metallic, so we'll increase that. And then we're going to decrease the roughness, which is pretty much the opposite of metallic. To see what our logo looks like, we're going to hold Z and we're going to go down to material preview. Now, this is the preview of the material so far. So as you can see, it's still pretty basic. So depending on what color you want your logo, we'll change that here. So I'm going for an orange, and then you can click 0 to see what that looks like. Still want to change it slightly. Let's play around with the metallic and roughness. So obviously, the more metallic you go, the more chrome-like it'll look. And the rougher you go, the flatter it'll look. We want to go somewhere in the middle. There, looks good. And we're going to click the background and we'll do the same again. So we'll click new, and then we're going to keep the background white, which is going to increase the roughness and slightly increase metallic. Now that we've got our logo, we need to animate it. What we want to do is click on the logo and head over to animation. Here you can see the logo in 2 different frames. So we'll click 0 just to see it. And then at the bottom here, you can see we've got a time frame with keyframes. So this is 250 frames long. If you want to change that, you just head over to output, and then you can change the frames to whatever you like. So if you want 3 seconds, it'd be 90. If you're doing 30 frames per second. So we'll just do 90 for now, and we'll change it to 30 frames per second. If you want a transparent image as your logo and you don't want a background, then you need to leave this RGBA ticked, but we're after a video format today, so we're going to change that. And then this is where you save it to, so you just click there and we're going to save it to our desktop. And then down here, we just need to change this. So we'll keep that as H.264, and then we'll change that to perceptually lossless, and we'll change the container to MPEG-4. So now animation, we're going to click the logo and we're going to click I, and then we're going to click location and rotation. And then we're just going to click this little arrow here, and we want to rotate it on the Z axis. Let's go for 3 spins, which is 3 lots of 360. In the Z axis, we'll put 360 times 3, enter, and then we'll click I, and that'll create our keyframes. And then selecting these 2, we'll right click and go to Interpolation Mode, and then we'll change it to linear. Yep, so it's looking nice so far. Let's have a look what it looks like when it's rendered. So we'll hold Z down and we'll go to Material Preview, looking good. And then if we go to Rendered, you'll see that it's still too dark. So what we need to do next, we're going to go back to Layout, and we're going to add some lighting in here. So I'm just zooming out here, and I'm going to hold Shift A, and let's find the light, and we're going to go for an area light. And then clicking G, Z, we're going to lift that directly up, and pressing S, we're going to make that a lot bigger. And then over here in the light settings, we're going to change the power to 200. Now let's see what that looks like when we press 0 through the camera and pressing Z, rendered. This is what it looks like so far. Depending on your computer, you can go over to Render Engine and change EEVEE to Cycles. Now Cycles is better quality, but it takes a lot longer to render. However, the results are miles better. So I'm going to change my CPU to GPU, and I'm going to change the max samples to 120. Now I'm going to click motion blur as well, and now let's see what it looks like. As you can see, that's the cycles pixels because it's got to render each image. Sometimes it's better previewing it in EEVEE, just so you can see what it looks like, then going back to cycles if you're happy with it. I'm going to head over to render, and I'm going to click render animation.